Terrific. All right, my name's Michael Maher, and I work for Santa Clara County. I sat down and thought about it. I guess I have about 30 years of experience now with large-scale, complex, international, much of it IT projects, programs, and portfolio management. It's been a very interesting career. Always in the IT space. I have an MBA from the University of Michigan. I have a project management master's certificate from Villanova. I have my PMP, I have my PSM, Professional Scrum Master, and I'm also a certified supply chain professional and ITIL certified. So living here on the coast of California, we have 12 months a year of beautiful weather. And so I love hiking and backpacking, being outdoors. Fun fact, my longest hike, record-setting 26 miles through the Santa Cruz Mountains back in 2020. So we're going to talk about project portfolio management at Santa Clara County, and how that's been a really transforming. In particular, we're going to zero in on transforming our idea to portfolio process, going from something that was a bit fragmented and a little chaotic to enterprise excellence. We'll talk about our journey, idea to portfolio process, some lessons learned I'd like to share, and a little gratitude at the end. Let's talk about Santa Clara County. As you may know, it is the home of Silicon Valley, which is, there are 48,749 businesses in Silicon Valley. The county government, which I work for, has $11.9 billion budget. And Santa Clara County, interestingly enough, has a $420 billion GDP, and it's the fifth largest county in the United States. We have a population of 1.9 million residents, which puts us at 18th most populated U.S. county. We provide a wide range of services to county residents. So, everything from public safety, maintaining roads and parks, social services. We have a healthcare system that we run. We're an agent of the state of California, and we also promote economic development. 2025 is the 175th anniversary of Santa Clara County. Now, my focus in Santa Clara County is in the IT organization. So that organization is called Technology Services and Solutions, or TSS. And so TSS, we've been working on driving digital transformation initiatives, and much of that through excellence in strategic project selection and execution. And it's a challenge because we're managing a pretty big portfolio of projects, technology projects, in one of the largest counties in California. And it requires sophisticated portfolio management to ensure strategic alignment and resource optimization. Let's talk about our project portfolio management journey. Now, back in 2021, with PROJILITY's help, we implemented Microsoft Project Online and Power BI. And so 2021 was about just getting that up and running. 2022, there was a focus on building the basics in terms of processes and templates and knowledge articles, that sort of thing. So get the basics in place so that we could better use the tools that we had implemented with Project Online and Power BI. And in 2022, that was also the beginning of implementing our first version of Idea to Portfolio. And so I'm going to refer to that as version 1.0, and then we're going to also talk about how we moved to version 2.0 of that same process. In 2023, there was a focus to work on project management maturity, to climb that ladder, improve our project management maturity as a way of improving our project management capability. We also we realized that we need to do some application administration. You know, we have this new tool, Project Online, Power BI, and so we needed to put processes in place to manage that in a good way. Data quality, very important. You know, the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. Well, we shifted our mindset to a different definition of GIGO. Put good in, get good out. And that was a big push for us to improve the data quality so that we could make use of it and make better decisions. 2024, still working on project management maturity and portfolio management. We also expanded our reporting, you know, now that we have better data that we had invested in 2023, let's try to exploit that data with more and useful reporting through Power BI. And in 2025, we realized that project portfolio management, our idea to portfolio process, that needed to be revisited. So version 2.0 has been the focus. We also made a big push to build out knowledge management. To really, we have tools in the county for knowledge management, and so we adopted those in terms of project management knowledge articles. We're up to almost 200 articles covering all topics and tools. And we put some controls in place as well. Now, what the future holds, 2026, I see that as being focused on lifecycle management. So we've, having run Project Online for 5 years, we need to do, some lifecycle management, take it to its next place, the replacement of Microsoft Project Online. All right, let's start with a trick question. Which is more important, project selection or project management maturity? I call it a trick question because the reality is these are both important. Both topics are important to success. On project management maturity, it's not easy to do. Improving processes, that is a slow go exercise, iterative and incremental, and it takes time. Also, interesting thing about project management maturity is if you run the wrong project well, that's not success. That does not deliver success for the organization. Now, if you think about project selection, for us at this moment where we are in our journey, it has a higher strategic impact. So choosing the right projects, that ensures things like alignment with organizational goals and strategic direction. It helps you maximize return on investment. Implementing the right projects, that really drives long-term success. And it focuses those resources more effectively on what's important and not getting lost on things that are tangential or unimportant. It improves productivity and it reduces waste. So when we looked at this, both of these things are important. We had done some work on project management maturity, but in 2025, it was clear for us that project selection, that was the place to work on next in our journey. Now, over the project lifecycle, from selection, initiation, planning, execution, the costs accumulate right into operations. So if a project is selected, it is the wrong project. The longer it runs and the more, further on down the process flow that it goes, the more waste is going to be accrued. So catching and making that, catching a project and determining it's not the right fit or not the best selection choice early reduces that waste. Things like opportunity costs, that trade-off between something that is relatively low value for something that you could have done that could have had a much higher value for the organization. Strategic misalignment, possibly cancellation. You get well down the path of the project life cycle and you decide to cancel it because you realize this really isn't going to be produce a good result. Wasted resources that accrue, through that, and then that has an impact on the organization, specifically morale. Anyone who's worked on a project that was not the right project, they understand what that's like. Okay, this is the 10,000-foot discussion of, well, what is idea to portfolio, or I2P? So I2P is the governance process used to evaluate project ideas for potential investment, make selection decisions, and add those selected new projects to the project portfolio. And if they're supplier, it's the IT organization, TSS for the county. What the input are the project ideas, and this can come from any department, including the TSS, could submit a project idea. The outputs would be adding that approved project to the portfolio. The process itself is to receive the idea, prepare a business case, look at strategic drivers, do some analysis to comparative analysis of the ideas that you have, make some decisions, secure the funding, and you've got now you've got your project. Now, I mentioned in our journey that we had implemented idea to portfolio, a solution 1.0. It really was a stopgap solution. It was meant to help us help us do with some automation, but it was never intended to be the ultimate solution that we had put in. It was stopgap. And if we look at that, there were a couple of things that were not great about it. One is that it had multiple sources of truth. We had Excel files, we had SharePoints, SharePoint lists and SharePoint folders. We had Project Online, and so as things moved through this process in a stepwise fashion, there would be version issues and data would just become inconsistent. It was very difficult to keep that all in sync. It was fragile. Anytime you're using with spreadsheets, they're wonderful for analysis, for doing spreadsheet work, but not so great as a process management tool or capturing documents. So we had lots of issues with broken spreadsheets. It was difficult to maintain. We had breakdowns. We had frustrated users. There was little visibility into that process. So people would want to know, stakeholders around proposals would want to know where their proposal was in the life cycle. And it was difficult to keep them informed, and really it was difficult to track like where proposals were. Everything was pretty much manual. There was some automation, so there wasn't direct entry of proposals into PWA or Project Online, but we did not have workflow, and we didn't really have any portfolio analysis capability. So we said, all right, enough is enough. Let's replace that stopgap solution and for idea to portfolio. And here we came up with 4 objectives. The first is that we wanted an enterprise level solution, robust, scalable, and not using tools that weren't really appropriate for the solution. So we wanted something good. We wanted to, as an outcome of this project, to have better decisions around our project portfolio. So be able to enhance our governance, do portfolio analysis, make sure that we were aligned, we had alignment with our strategy. Process transparency was also important. So project idea and project proposal stakeholders, that they have a need to know where is their proposal in the life cycle, what's happening, and we wanted to be able to open that up and show anybody who was interested how things were progressing. Another goal is to have self-service, to enable self-service support. So we have it's a large organization, so but we have a very small PMO. It's an army of one, me, and so we need people to be able to have documentation and training and be able to self-serve and support themselves to make this all work. I'd like to walk you through the solution architecture that we selected. So at the heart of this, we have Microsoft Project Online, and that's our repository. And so we're using that for the proposals, for projects, for portfolio optimization, or that comparative analysis capability, and all of that functionality. And we call that PWA, but it's Microsoft Project Online. We have Active Directory, so we have a people picker. So whenever we're capturing who relates to a particular part of the process, we can reach into Active Directory and get that data directly. We have all of our user documentation in the Santa Clara County's document management system, which we branded internally as Clara's Library. Power BI we're using for reporting. Power Automate we use for the workflow automation, for the process automation. And there's some notifications and integration with Outlook email. We're using Microsoft Teams Approvals app for workflow tracking. So it's there's workflow and to be able to see where notifications are for someone to take an action in the workflow. That's all done through Microsoft Teams Approvals app. So here's the high-level process for idea to portfolio. It starts with a project concept, an idea. Then there's a group of business relationship managers. They look at the ideas, and when they select one that they want to move forward into and put forward as a project proposal, they create that proposal. They collaborate with an architect. We have architects that look at the proposals and help it's a collaboration. So the business relationship managers and the architects, they work together to make sure that the right architecture is being put forward in the proposal. It goes through a finalization step. It's reviewed with a manager in the organization. They took a look at it and make sure that it lines up organizationally. We have many different verticals inside of the county. So there's an IT director who looks at it and does a review and approval. When that's done, it moves to the CIO, who reviews it and approves it, and then ultimately the county executive, CEO, reviews it and approves it. If it's approved, then we go for funding and make sure that's all lined up. And once it's approved and funded, we create it as a project in Microsoft Project Online. And from there, it moves on into assigning resources, project managers, and moving the project forward. So here's our approach to implementing iData Portfolio 2.0, it started with process mapping at a detailed level. This turned out to be very important to understand how the process would work, the workflow, each of the steps, step by step at a detailed level. So we documented that for the as-is, that 1.0 solution, but also the 2B, what we were expecting it, how it would work. And then we shared that with our stakeholders and solicited their feedback and refined that. That became our Bible for the life of the project, to implement that. Whenever we would ask a question about, well, how is it supposed to work, we would go back to this process map and consult with it. And then sometimes we would discover that we hadn't thought of something, or a question couldn't be answered, and we would refine that process map when we would discover something needed a little tweaking. But super helpful. We then worked on data and the development of the solution. There's some data cleansing that was needed, so we went through and did that. We aligned our environments, our test and our production environment, to make sure that they were functionally equivalent for testing. And then we built the solution from those components that we talked about. Once we had a solution built, we took the time to build the knowledge articles. So to create that knowledge management, because one of our goals, remember, was to create an organization that could self-service. So we wrote comprehensive documentation, and we integrated that directly with the application itself. This is a best practice in the knowledge management world. So if I'm a business relationship manager or a vertical director, any of those roles, they have inside of Project Online, they can click and drill into the relevant knowledge management article for the process that they're working on, or the step. Works really well. We took that and we did a series of roadshows. Well, we had a roadshow, and we had these sessions with stakeholders to show them demos of what we had built, to get their feedback. This turned out to be really, really valuable. Engaging people in, and I call that high-tech anthropology, to really engage with users, to get their reaction. They would ask questions. They would bring up scenarios, perhaps we hadn't thought of. But that feedback, that we used, that we iterated on that. So each of those sessions we would, and it could be the documentation, or it could be the solution itself. We would improve, take that feedback and use it. Once we had built the solution, we then tested it with the same group of people, went through and put their hands on the keyboards, not demo, but actual testing. Use the results from the testing to iterate again. And that testing, it turns out, that's also training, in a form of training, is to help people with adoption, to be able to be successful with a new process, to be able to train and test at the same time. Once we had the solution built, tested, looking good, we did go live, and we also made sure that after we went live, that we had the proper support in place to help people be successful. Now we had proposals that were that had been prepared in the old method, using Excel spreadsheets. And what we did is we asked those business relationship managers to migrate those manually. And that was a really good decision. Maybe we could have automated it, but having their hands on keyboards, working with writing proposals in the solution, that worked super well. Okay, obstacles that we overcame. We had capacity constraints, very small team with distractions. We had testing complexity, so not entirely easy to do this, but we came up with ways of testing both the documentation and the functionality at the same time. Change management, so making sure that we had lots of stakeholders, that we engaged with them and brought them along on the journey to help them through the change. And we had reporting challenges, so just making sure that we delivered the solution and then update the reporting very, very quickly after we had the solution in place. What were the results? Well, very happy with the results. We had, first of all, we were able to go live on time. We were able to synchronize that with our normal proposal review schedule. It didn't miss a beat. We now had a single source of truth, which was really useful because that enabled reporting. We had the ability to report. All the reporting prior was manual, and now we were able to do automated reporting with the solution and the data. We were aiming, as you may recall, for an enterprise level solution, and we definitely have that. So scalable, robust, and that workflow automation has just been working great. It has enhanced our decision making. So we now, with the new solution, we can look at strategic drivers, we can do portfolio analysis, compare proposals, and choose the right ones. Our leadership can make better decisions. And it's also improved collaboration, that transparency and the engagement with stakeholders on proposals, that's really helped. I would say the overall quality of the proposals has improved. So there, the number of errors and omissions and rework has decreased. Better quality proposal being submitted. We've simplified simplified the solution by reducing or rationalizing the number of data elements. So we collected a lot of data elements, substantially more with the old solution, and the new one, it's more focused, which has helped. And the whole thing has given more transparency into idea to portfolio, into that process. People can see where their things are and how they're progressing through the process. I'd like to share a few lessons learned, thorns and roses. On the thorn side, this is human nature, but humans don't want to read documentation. But that was important because we're trying to create self-service capability, enable adoption. And so what we did is to in our testing session to have the users work with the documentation while they were executing the process. The process, they could do it intuitively, but they also tested the documentation. Another lesson is don't underestimate that post-go live support. We wanted people to be successful, and it took some effort to help them through that transition. We also learned that we need to share our data model. We could have shared our data model earlier, the changes that we were making, with the Power BI team. That was something that we discovered at the end, that we could have improved the whole flow had we done that. And this lesson is focus creates velocity and distractions create drag. So wherever we had distractions, it slowed us down, and there were moments where we just had to give ourselves permission to be focused. On the roses side, that mapping of the process at a detail level, oh my gosh, that was so valuable. Over and over again, we used that throughout the life of the project. I would do that again for sure. The roadshows, hugely successful. That gathering the feedback and iterating on it allowed us to improve the solution that we were developing as we were building the bridge. Integrating that knowledge management capability in the application, very, very useful. That's helped us be successful with self-service. Documenting changes and as a way of facilitating the changes that need to happen on the reporting side, very important. Good thing to do. Combining quality assurance and user training, that helped with adoption. And observing the users while they're testing, not just asking them for feedback, but actually seeing how they would interact with the documentation or the solution. That allowed us to see little trouble spots, things that would that needed to be more clear or improved. I call that high-tech anthropology. And we enabled our self-service with documentation and training. migrating the new proposals that were teed up using Excel to the new solution, having the users do that manually, that was worthwhile. That very much helped with training and adoption. And then this is true over and over again over my career. Teamwork with highly capable consulting, PROJILITY, and internal expertise, that is a very powerful combination. That's definitely one of our keys to success. Well, I'd like to wrap this up with a little bit of gratitude for a couple of people. One is I'd like to offer up a big thank you to David Gage from PROJILITY and his contribution to our portfolio, idea to portfolio solution. David is just one of the best people when it comes to Microsoft Project Online. And his work is just superlative. And I'm grateful for having had an opportunity to work with David and learn from him. Another big thank you is to Michelle Nuhr at Design Nuhr for bringing my presentation to life visually and making it positively beautiful. Thank you, Michelle. And Michelle's visual design skills are just extraordinary. I believe it's a privilege to work with such talented people. Kudos to Dave and Michelle. And a thank you to Rob Hirschman at PROJILITY for the invitation to speak with you all today.